Have you ever had the feeling that something about our history just doesn't add up? Archaeologists sometimes discover objects they call out-of-place artifacts, things that shouldn't exist, not in that place, and definitely not in that time. According to the official timeline, humans only began using the wheel about 5,000 years ago. But then how do we explain complex metal objects discovered deep inside ancient rock layers that are far older than that? There are reports of iron tools trapped inside stone that supposedly formed millions of years ago, fragments that look suspiciously like mechanical components embedded in fossilized material. Most scientists dismiss them as natural anomalies, but what if they aren't anomalies? What if they're remnants of a civilization that history no longer remembers? Since childhood, we've been taught that early humans were primitive. They hunted with simple tools, lived in caves, and slowly learned how to shape stone. But there's a question that quietly lingers in the background. If the story of Noah's Ark is true, a massive vessel built to preserve life on Earth, does it really make sense that such a structure was built using nothing more than basic hand tools? Or could it be that humanity once lived in a world far more advanced than we're willing to admit? A civilization so confident in its own power that it believed it could challenge the very laws of creation. And maybe what we keep finding buried deep beneath the earth isn't just ancient debris. Maybe it's the broken circuitry of a world that had to be erased. Ancient texts speak about a powerful people known as the people of Od. They were described as builders of enormous cities. One of them was called Iram of the Pillars, a legendary city said to have towers so tall and magnificent that nothing like it existed anywhere else on Earth. Now think about this. How could a civilization thousands of years ago move stones weighing hundreds of tons with such precision? Even today, modern engineers would struggle with some of those structures. Some researchers have proposed a strange idea. What if those civilizations didn't rely purely on brute force? What if they understood resonance? Certain frequencies can affect the structure of matter. If you hit the right vibration, solid objects can behave in unexpected ways. In that scenario, stones weren't carved, they were controlled. Imagine a world where sound itself was a form of energy, where information traveled through atmospheric resonance instead of wires. No cables, no satellites, just the natural frequencies of the planet. But every powerful technology eventually reaches a dangerous point. Because once humans realize they can control energy, they start wondering what else they can control. And that curiosity leads somewhere darker. Ancient myths from many cultures describe strange creatures, half human, half animal. For centuries, we've treated these stories as pure imagination. But what if they weren't stories? What if they were echoes of biological experiments? What if ancient civilizations looked at DNA the same way we look at computer code today? Something that could be edited, modified, rewritten. Some ancient writings even describe a time when the earth itself was corrupted, not just morally, but structurally, as if the very blueprint of life had been tampered with. And that's when history takes a familiar turn. Whenever humanity begins to believe it has become equal to its creator, collapse follows soon after. In many ancient traditions, there's a symbol that keeps appearing, a single eye, an eye that sees everything, an eye that controls everything. Today, that symbol feels strangely relevant again. Look at the world around us. One global network, one digital infrastructure. Billions of people connected to a single flow of information. Artificial intelligence is now learning to understand human behavior. Algorithms decide what we see, what we buy, even what we think about. Without realizing it, we're slowly becoming part of a system that watches everything. Now let's return to one of the most famous events in human history, the Great Flood of Noah. Most people imagine it as endless rain falling for 40 days and 40 nights, but some researchers suggest a deeper possibility. What if the flood was more than just water? What if it was a planetary reset? Water is one of the most powerful conductors of energy in nature. When the surface of the Earth is submerged, electrical systems collapse, energy networks fail, and almost every trace of advanced technology disappears. In a world like that, even a highly advanced civilization could vanish. That brings us back to the Ark. Perhaps it wasn't just a wooden ship. Maybe it was something closer to a preservation vessel, a place where the original forms of life were protected. Not just animals walking inside 2 by 2, but the genetic seeds of creation itself, a safeguard for a world that was about to be wiped clean. When the waters finally receded, civilization began again. History restarted. But not everything was erased. Tiny fragments remained, artifacts buried deep underground, objects that don't fit the timeline we've been given. One example is the Antikythera mechanism, a mysterious device discovered in a Greek shipwreck. It contained dozens of intricate gears capable of predicting planetary movements. Its technology seemed impossibly advanced for its era. And that's only one example among many strange discoveries. Some scientists say these are coincidences. Others believe they are clues to a forgotten chapter of human history. Now look at our world today. We're entering a new technological age. Genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, human-machine integration. A new idea is spreading quickly. Transhumanism. The belief that technology will allow humans to surpass their biological limits. At first glance, it sounds like progress, but to some people, it sounds like history repeating itself. Because the deeper question isn't whether technology will change humanity, it's whether humanity will remember its limits. Maybe we're not actually moving forward. Maybe we're walking in a circle. And if an advanced civilization once destroyed itself through arrogance and unchecked technology, then the real question isn't if it could happen again. The real question is when. But the story of Noah contains one final lesson. Survival wasn't about power. It wasn't about technology. It was about alignment with something greater than human ambition. Maybe the real Ark was never just a physical structure. Maybe it was the ability to remain human, even in a world obsessed with becoming something else. Because history shows us something uncomfortable. Civilizations don't collapse because they become too advanced. They collapse because they forget they are creations, not creators.